A young woman goes on a solo vacation to the English countryside following the death of her ex-husband. This is one of those movies that you're going to watch and then you're going to say, what the crap did I just see? Well, Jessie Buckley and Rory Kinnear star in this dramatic horror from Alex Garland. Now, this was quite the viewing experience that grew incredibly visceral as it went along. Buckley stars as Harper, a woman who's booked a vacation in a country village to get a new start on life after her ex-husband has died. And when she gets there, she meets an incredibly odd and awkward caretaker named Jeffrey, and he's played by Rory Kinnear. These interactions are quiet and uncomfortable, but they also made me laugh out loud at how clumsy Jeffrey's comments are. Kinnear is perfect in this role, as he's able to come across as a semi-chivalrous gentleman who could mean well, but he still doesn't put somebody at ease. Now, if you've seen the trailer, there's a scene where Harper is on a walk through the woods and she comes across this tunnel. She slowly walks into it and then yells a bit to cause an echo. Now, the sound design in this scene is absolutely wonderful. The echoes have this decay to them as they naturally would, but they also maintain their loudness and pitch for an unnatural amount of time, making the whole sequence both beautiful and creepy. And the scene lasts much longer than what the trailer shows, which I appreciate because then it continues to showcase just all of those amazing sounds. The score is also beautiful, but something that's quite noticeable is when it's silent. There are big portions of the film where there isn't backing music, creating this lonely and isolating environment. I mean, heck, even when the film ends, there's no sound or anything until about halfway through the credits, and even that is unsettling, but it's effective. I'd like to say that this is where the oppressive creepiness begins, but really it's been present from the very start of the story. And while the darkness that covers the narrative is noticeable, it's not always suffocating. But the story also does know how to amp up the anxiety as the minutes progress. Jessie Buckley is spectacular to watch. She plays Harper with strength and resolve, but also as someone who's deeply scarred. And there are these moments where we see just true joy exuding from Harper, but then the smallest thing can go wrong, like maybe a missed musical note on the piano, and it rockets her back into a harsh reality where joy is just not easily found. And there are good chunks of this story where Harper doesn't speak. She's alone either in the house or maybe on a walk in the countryside, and Buckley effectively conveys whatever emotions are silently coursing through her character. I mean, we can feel her anger, hurt, loss, fear, and even happiness. There's a subtleness and ease that Buckley employs in her acting that just sucked me into the performance, and it drew me to her character. Now, with Rory Kinnear, I've already said that he plays Jeffrey, but if you've seen the trailer, you also know that he plays some additional characters within the village. Now, this is a very weird thing to experience within the story. It's certainly odd and bewildering, but it's also freaky. And while most of the characters are just Kinnear with different makeup and maybe some prosthetics, there's one character where his face is digitally placed on someone much younger. Now, the CGI isn't perfect on this, which I think actually works to the film's favor because it makes the whole thing that much more disturbing. Kinnear is outstanding as he embodies different personas. Now, I'm not going to get into what they mean, but they are all effective in creating an atmosphere and a tone that's almost terrifying. And speaking of terrifying, the imagery in this entire movie is so deep and rich with meaning. Symbolism is spread throughout so much of the story, giving a ton of context clues, but also working to freak us the heck out. The final act of the film doubles down on the unsettling imagery, which dives headlong into all of the themes that were being examined all throughout the story. And while there are some moments earlier in the film that made me wince slightly, when we get towards the end of the movie, what is shown is not for the faint. I mean, it is visceral, graphic, and downright nasty. During this time, some special effects and practical effects are utilized, and they are all disgustingly convincing. I mean, while the entire film can be classified as a horror just simply based on the story content, the visuals that are crafted for that final act just catapult this into the grotesque category. But what I appreciate most through all of this is how it's actually working to enhance the themes and the central core of the story. This isn't just horror or gore for horror or gore's sake, but it truly has a purpose well beyond that of shocking us or grossing us out. And because of that reason, as speechless as I was walking out, I am in love with what the story was saying and how it was conveying its message. So overall, Men is a shocking and monstrous tale with a biting commentary at its core. The visuals are deftly created, capturing a horrifying look at reality that many will be able to relate to. Both Jessie Buckley and Rory Kinnear nail their parts, bringing us nuanced characters who showcase strength, fragility, bias, intolerance, rage, sadness, hope, and even joy. While I know that this will be very polarizing to audiences, the heart of the story and its message is extremely powerful and necessary. At first, I was surprised at the relatively short runtime of 100 minutes, but Garland uses this efficiently to tell a story that is tense, anxiety filled, and robust while still maintaining a pace that allows so much of the story to breathe. There's no sex, a ton of nudity, a lot of profanity, and a bunch of gnarly violence, including some sexual assault. I give Men 4.5 out of 5 couches. What's a good horror movie with a powerful message that you've seen? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.